In the Harvard application, the admissions committee is judging your ability to think clearly and think for yourself. Stanford, on the other hand, is judging your self-knowledge, your awareness of your own values. I wonder what Wharton is gauging in the application. Stay tuned to this MBA Monday to find out. Hello, I'm Angela Guido, the founder of Career Protocol, and today I'm talking about the Wharton MBA application essays. The Wharton MBA application essays present a unique challenge, especially for those applicants who are also applying to Harvard and Stanford, where the questions are a lot more spacious and a lot more open-ended and give you a lot more creative freedom to show the admissions committee who you really are. Just because the Wharton essays are much briefer and more circumscribed doesn't mean you don't have to show them who you are. It's still your job to make sure that the admissions committee of every school you apply to really understands who you are as a person. And Wharton poses a very unique challenge on that dimension because on the surface, they have exactly 2 essays. One is 500 words and the other is 400 words. They're both very concise and very well circumscribed. Question number 1 is, how do you plan to use the Wharton MBA program to help you achieve your future professional goals? And question number 2 is, taking into consideration your background, personal, professional, and/or academic, how do you plan to make specific, meaningful contributions to the Wharton community? You see how both of these questions are really focused on your connection with Wharton. They want to know how you see your life unfolding as a member of their community. So the first tip when you're approaching the Wharton essays is, number 1, do a ton of research and do it before you even sit down to write the essays. You basically have to fall in love with this program before you can even begin to put together a decent set of essays. So get to know the school, the programs, the professors, the clubs, the extracurricular activities. Figure out all the ways that you are going to grow and learn and contribute at Wharton before you sit down to write. Get inspired by your life at Wharton before you sit down to outline and create your essays. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to think very carefully, both in a visionary way and in a strategic and tactical way about your future. I like to think that Harvard is, again, really gauging critical and free thinking. Stanford is gauging values. Wharton is gauging your ability to envision and create a future. They're looking for futurists. Recently, they've kind of rebranded the program as centering on innovation. They're trying to become known for being the most innovative program across the board of all MBA programs. So it's only natural that their questions are going to target your ability to project yourself into the future and show them that you can think strategically, tactically, credibly, but also innovatively about the future you're trying to create. So don't neglect your career game plan. We have a ton of videos on our channel about how to put together your career game plan, but that's going to be very core and essential to your Wharton applications. It is the centerpiece of Essay 1, and it even needs to make sense as you write Essay 2. You'll be talking about the activities, the contributions that you want to make that both leverage your past experiences and the future you're creating. So if you're planning to go into management consulting, for example, you might talk about the ways in which you're going to contribute to the Management Consulting Club in Essay 2. You want to be tactical, but really focused on the future. Tip number 3 is to Tip number 3 is to not get so blinded by the future that you forget to include your past in the essays. So it's really tempting to just jump into Essay 1, talking about your career game plan and how Wharton is going to help you achieve that. And indeed, that is essential to answering that essay question. But they also give you the opportunity to address a little bit of where you've come from so far. They even say that in the supporting text. They say you might consider past experience, short and long-term goals, and resources available at Wharton. And I really encourage you to make a very strategic choice between either Essay 1 or Essay 2, and possibly both. If you've been applying to other schools, you've developed a set of stories that really define you. Those moments in your past experience that changed your values, or that helped you understand what really mattered to you, or that catapulted your growth in a major way because you were recovering from a huge setback or learning from experience. So if you've written any other essays, you've already probably cultivated your favorite stories, the 3 or 4 stories that are nearest and dearest to your heart. So look for opportunities to include those in either Essay 1 or Essay 2, or both. So the future is the key to your Wharton essays, but your future is conditioned on who you are today, which is evidenced by who you've been in the past. So this is really gonna take some wordsmithing, because if you wrote the Harvard essay, as you probably know, I believe the Harvard essay has literally no limit. As long as you're being concise and engaging, you can write as much as you want. In Wharton, you can only write 500 words, and you even have to copy and paste it into a text box, which cuts it off at 500 words. So you really, really have to be concise. So finding a way to include your favorite stories in those really tight word limits, it's just a completely different challenge from most of the other schools you're applying to. And Wharton does this because they're trying to understand how well you can make a case for your future, leveraging only critical details about your past experiences. If you think about what it means to be innovative, it's actually not based on the past. It's based on envisioning something new with just a little bit of tidbits of what you already know and where you've come from. So make sure that you're not omitting the chance to show your most important stories, to reveal aspects of who you are vis-a-vis showing who you've been through stories, but you're just gonna have to be really concise about it, and you have to make sure that it flows really well together with everything else that you're saying in Essay 1 and Essay 2. Wharton will not take kindly to copy and pasting a Kellogg essay and then tacking Wharton on at the end. They will not like it if you just Frankenstein your Harvard essay into something that makes no sense and then talk about your goals at Wharton. You really have to approach the Wharton essays freshly and newly with the intention of giving them what they really want, which is a sense of who you are and where you're going. Final tip for the Wharton essays is to think very carefully about that optional essay. So unlike most schools where they very clearly outline an optional essay that's meant only to address weaknesses, low GRE score, strange choice of recommenders, gap in employment, Wharton gives you the opportunity to address those aspects of your candidacy in the optional essay, but the way the optional essay is worded, it actually gives you space to say whatever you genuinely want to say. The wording says, please use this space to share any additional information about yourself that cannot be found elsewhere in your application and that you would like to share with the admissions committee. They then go on to say that you can also use it to address extenuating circumstances. So by this wording, they're signaling very clearly that if you want to use that extra essay to tell a story or to share your values or to talk about an experience that isn't adequately covered in the essays or the resume, you have that space to do that. In our experience, about 20 to 25% of clients really actually need that extra space. There's something about them, something about their experience that is so important to convey and it can't be captured in those brief 2 essays, that they really need that extra space to tell that story. But I want to advise you to be very judicious in thinking about that optional essay, because most of you don't need it. Most of you will present an even stronger candidacy if you can show Wharton the key aspects of who you are in those 2 main essays and call it quits after that. Because indeed, this is part of what they're gauging is, can you package yourself? Can you show a polished profile in a tight space? That's part of what they're looking for. But if there's, let's take, for example, a story of how you came to be who you are through a long series of events that shaped you, or a really important extracurricular experience that just can't really fit because it's too big and too subtle to be crammed into the roughly 200 words or so you would have to talk about it in Essay 2, And you really need the space, because if you don't include that story, the admissions committee will not be able to make a fair decision on your candidacy because they're missing a key piece of information. If that's the case for you, then go ahead and use that optional essay to tell that story. But make sure that you write the story for Wharton. Don't copy and paste a Kellogg essay. Don't copy and paste what matters most and why, and cut it down a little bit. Really think about how do you need to tell your story to complement the other two essays that you've already written to show that extra dimension of yourself to Wharton. Okay. See, I didn't get into Wharton. This is one of our longest MBA Mondays ever because I'm not that great at being concise. I was waitlisted at Wharton though. In fact, I'm still on the waitlist. It's like a joke among my whole community that I'm still just waiting to get off the Wharton waitlist. Okay, different story. Point is, those are your 4 tips. See, I even went over my usual 3. 4 tips for answering the Wharton essays. It's an amazing program. If you get invited to interview, you're in for a brand new, fascinating challenge with the team-based discussion. Wharton is truly trailblazing an innovative MBA application process, so you can do it. I'll see you next week. You don't understand, you're my slave. You do not have free will. You cannot close the browser by yourself. Okay, here we go.